I just need someone to be a listener.
Nobody knows me the way I know me, and nobody knows you the way you know you.
Because when I listen to hear these people's problems, my problems are way less.
Kindred, like, oh, this is what I've been looking for, like, fills that cup. Because sometimes as a parent, you feel like you're so alone. Like, am I the only one who's, struggling to get my son up to go to school every day? Like,
being a mom is a lot. We're holding so much. I'll go first. Welcome back to Season 2 of The Unhurried Mama. This is the podcast where we take the long way through motherhood. It's been exactly 4 months since Season 1 launched, and it sounds crazy, but I want to tell you that I'm in a completely different place than when this podcast started. Michelle from 4 months ago would not have been able to say she's living for today. When she started the podcast, she was still saving herself for a someday, waiting until she felt like a good enough writer to finish the book. It was 1:47 a.m., and I was still editing episode 8. I didn't even start recording until 10:06 p.m., thinking it would only take me 30 minutes. But it had to be just right. There were too many mouth clicks, and I couldn't unhear them. Looking back, I'm sure no one noticed except me. I crawled into bed at 3:14 a.m. and slept 3.5 hours. By late afternoon, I felt the first signs of a cold sore. The Michelle from today is writing the chapter before the kids are up. But even though I told stories most wouldn't tell out loud in Season 1, I didn't actually say the one thing I'm still holding on to right now. It had been 2 days since a pair of white Puma Costco socks lay scrunched up in the corner of our gray tiled mudroom floor. Arguably, just enough out of sight to be bypassed by a 12-year-old. But come on, 2 days? And I guarantee she walked past them at least a dozen times. And of course, this wasn't the only time, or the only object. Some days, it's a hair scrunchie and bracelets left on top of the dryer. Other days, it's a graphic novel left open at the bottom of the stairs. I have injured my foot on Ninjago Lego characters strewn in front of the fridge, and dried out markers going down the hallway. I had meant to remind her the night before, but forgot. I was thinking of 7 other things at the time. I was the only one awake and tired of looking at them on the floor. So I sighed and bent over slightly, reached for both with one hand and thought, why am I the only one who cares? And stood back up. I felt the cold towel against my toes, scowled at the socks in my palm, and shook my head. I didn't bother to walk up the stairs to drop them into the color-coded laundry basket in the linen closet, and instead tossed them into the washing machine. I carefully closed the door to avoid making a loud click that could travel in the morning stillness. Some days, I wish I weren't a mom. All I heard was the sound of the clock in the living room, ticking away. It was 6:33 a.m. That wasn't the first time the thought came to me. The first time was in Germany, when I was 2 months postpartum. I had just stepped out of a hot shower, where I was trying to massage myself so the hard lump would go away. It was so painful, I was choking back tears. I dried myself off quickly, being careful around the lump, and bit my lip from the tenderness. I caught a glimpse of my almost healed emergency C-section scar in the mirror. Well, that's never going away. Motherhood is life-changing, all right. The scar I could deal with. The home water birth I never got was harder to let go of. I went downstairs to check on my daughter, who was hanging out with her Oma in the baby bouncer. She smiled warmly at me, and I gestured that it was time to feed her. My German came out in broken phrases. I had only moved across the world 6 months before that, and was still adjusting to a new culture, a new language, and a new home with no friends or family around. I retreated to my daughter's room upstairs, nursed her, and prayed silently that she'd keep it down this time. She settled for a bit as I stroked her back gently, carefully bracing her neck with my other hand. But when I stood up to burp her, she projectile vomited all over the sofa and onto the wall behind me. The sound of it made my stomach drop. When is this going to stop? How will she ever get enough milk? I shut my eyes as her cry got louder. I can't do this. I want to go home. For 12 years, I never said it out loud. Recently, I started talking to other moms. I don't mean friends of mine who are also moms. I mean real moms in the community who didn't know anything about me or the work I'm doing. I drafted a post for some Facebook mom groups. I rewrote it 3 times, edited it some more, and had to walk away for the afternoon. What if no one comments? Or what if they say yes and then tell me the exact opposite things I think? What if I'm the only one? After I hummed and hawed more, I finally shoved my own fears aside and asked myself, does it matter what they say? I just wanted them to tell me about the hardest part of motherhood. I hit post with a friendly photo of me. I stared at the screen. The post was live. I muttered, "Oh my God, I'm doing it. It's happening." My son was nearby and asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to talk to some moms," I said. "That's it?" "Yeah, but I don't know them and I don't know what they'll say." "Oh, well, maybe you can just listen." "You know what? You're right. I like that. Thanks, buddy." He gave me a hug, then continued to climb on our indoor jungle gym. Within an hour, I had my first volunteer. "I'm down for this," she said. I squealed and clapped my hands together. Then it was 4 yeses within 5 hours. Within a couple of days, I had 17 women message or comment saying they wanted to chat. Wow. So I listened to several of them, who all said something I thought only I was thinking. You've already heard them. One of the moms said, "I don't like children," and I had to stop. My tummy released. I didn't even realize I was holding it in. My shoulders dropped, and I let out a long exhale. I closed my eyes to keep the feeling for a second longer. It's not just me. Finally, someone gets it. Because I'd never been the little girl who dreamed about being a mom. Why I had kids anyway is a longer story. Part of it lives in the rooms we'll walk through together this season. And underneath all the different vocabulary and stages of recognition, every one of them was asking the same question. Is this normal? A mom said that in the 20-year gap between her 2 kids, nothing had changed. She still felt like she was the only one. So I finally realized I wasn't the only one bending over, picking up socks while everyone else was sleeping, thinking I was the only one. I'm not the only one thinking about the 23 items we need for a road trip that still haven't been packed. I'm not the only one who lets her child have a little extra screen time just so I can have 5 more minutes of peace. I'm not the only one who plans an entire birthday party on her own, complete with homemade cupcakes, food and snacks, games and prizes, plus logistics. These women unintentionally gave me the permission to go first. A few days after my last interview, I sat across from a friend over tea in my backyard. We were talking about the challenges of preteens and how different parenting is now compared to when we were kids. There was a natural pause in the conversation. I spoke up and told her, for the first time in 12 years, that some days I wish I weren't a mom. Her hands stayed where they were, on her lap. Her face didn't change. I almost blurted out, "Just kidding," but resisted the urge. She just nodded. I felt a release in my chest I didn't expect. Hearing the other moms made me brave enough to say it. And now I'm saying it to you. If you almost said, "Just kidding," in your head when I said that, you and I have already met. There is a house called Motherhood that I've lived in for over 12 years. This house has rooms I never knew existed until I moved in. Some I visit daily, but never had a name for. That room you just walked through with me, with the mudroom floor at 6:33 a.m., the crumpled socks, and the thought I never said out loud, is one of them. For a long time, I wondered if the mudroom was only in my house. When I was invited into other houses, I realized that each of us had our own version of this room. Not only that, but we all wondered if other moms had this room in their houses too. But knowing other women had this room wasn't enough for me. I will be the one who walks into the room first and sits there long enough to understand it with you on this podcast. Some rooms will have closets that will need sitting into. And there's a wing of the house we won't walk through this season. But I want to say it here so you know I see it. It's the partnership wing. And of course, I'm afraid of judgment from other moms, of being condemned for being different. I fear I'll be humiliated for saying something that maybe only I think. But beneath it all, I'm afraid I won't belong to the collective of mothers. But I'm doing it anyway, because I refuse to believe I'm the only one. Someone has to go first. For this season, I invite you to walk through each room with me every 2 weeks, with monthly guided meditations along the way. Before you close this episode, I want you to notice one room in your own house of motherhood you haven't named yet. Send this to the one mom in your life who needs the room you just walked through.